Ohio State is one of those elite football programs that really benefits from the transfer portal and NIL. Last year, it looked like a number of the Buckeyes' best players would be entering the draft, but many of them came back in hopes to win a national championship. One of those players who made a return is cornerback Denzel Burke, a player who many thought would have been a first-round pick in last year's draft class. Where does he rank in a pretty loaded group of defensive backs in the 2025 draft? That is what we will be going over in today's video. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon page. For $5 a month, you guys will get exclusive access to my draft guide with over 450 prospects and counting. If you are interested in the draft guide, comment down below and let me know. Also, be sure to let me know which players you guys would be interested in seeing in a future video. And without further ado, let's take a deep dive into Denzel Burke. Denzel Burke was a player who I studied for the 2023 draft back in the 2022 offseason and was ultimately left disappointed. But the last 2 years of his career, he has really turned it around and been a very nice player for the Buckeyes. In 2023, he had 24 tackles, was targeted 48 times, allowing 25 receptions, and had 1 interception as well as 7 pass deflections, and he really flipped a switch. 2024, he has been a bit up and down, but he has 13 tackles, been targeted 13 times, allowing 10 receptions, but he does already have 2 interceptions on the year, and the upside is certainly there for him. Burke has really great size for the cornerback position. He is 6'1", 190 pounds, but he genuinely does look bigger than this on the field. He has the ideal height as well as length that you look for in an ideal starting cornerback at the NFL level. Denzel Burke is an extremely scheme-versatile defensive back. He plays a lot of his snaps in man-to-man coverage, and I think he shows some really good upside there. He has fluid hips in man and great change of direction, but I actually like what he does in zone coverage a little bit more. He has really great zone instincts and keeps his eyes on the quarterback and does an awesome job of baiting the quarterback into bad throws, and I think he can play well in both man and zone coverage. He's also a really disciplined coverage player. He doesn't bite on double moves, he does a really good job of standing his ground in coverage while not biting. The production in terms of interceptions and pass deflections have yet to really pop up on the box score, but he has made plenty of plays on the football. I think he's a very strong coverage player. The other area he does well is he shows a willingness to come downhill and defend against the run, as well as blitz the quarterback. His short area quickness is pretty impressive, and he has shown a great willingness to come downhill, do the dirty work in the run game, which is something I love to see from defensive backs. The big area I want to see improvement on with Burke is some of his footwork. He plays really flat-footed at times, causing his closeout to be very sloppy, and he gets caught under his feet far too often. The other thing he's not great at is he does sit in his back pedal for way too long. He's just got to clean up some of his footwork in terms of his closeout. I also think he sits way too far back in zone, allowing too many catches underneath, which I really don't like to see from him, and when he gets his feet caught up underneath of him, he doesn't have that quick reaction time and he's not able to make a play on the football in the speed you'd like to see it happen. Burke is also a pretty bad tackler. Throughout his career, he has a 16.4% missed tackle rate, which is way too high for me. He has poor technique and really doesn't hit with any power and doesn't feel like he wants to play super physical at all. He honestly seems scared of physicality at times, which is something I'm a little concerned about. Lastly, I think Burke is awesome in terms of his short area burst, but his long speed is very suspect. There are too many instances where receivers are able to fly right past him, and he gets flat-footed and is unable to keep up with his matchup. I'm not super concerned because I think there's scheme things you can do to neutralize that, but it is something that's not ideal to see. Denzel Burke has been a player on a lot of people's draft boards for the past couple of seasons, and he was a player I was pretty low on coming into the year, and while he's upped his stock a little bit, I still find him to be one of the more overhyped players in the draft class. He's not the fastest player in the world. He's got sloppy footwork. He can't tackle consistently. And as of now, he's my number 12 cornerback in the draft class, which I know is going to upset a lot of people, but there's still too many question marks for me around his game. While his production has been solid, it's never been great, and he's got great tools, which is kind of his saving grace, but he is my number 65 overall player in the draft class. We have touched on it a few times in this video, but Burke is very versatile and a player who can play in both man and zone coverage. I really like his projection in a heavy zone scheme because of his burst and short area quickness. I'm just unsure how he's going to play in a heavy bump and run man-to-man scheme if he doesn't have awesome long speed, if he doesn't want to play super physical with wide receivers. So I'd like to see him playing in zone where he does a great job of reading the quarterback and reacting to the football. Denzel Burke reminds me a lot of Atlanta Falcons cornerback AJ Terrell. Both of them are pretty physical players who have some really great tools and are very versatile. Terrell is not the greatest tackler in the world, very similarly to Burke, and neither of them have the craziest long speed or ball skills, but they're both very smart, very instinctive coverage players, and Terrell has quietly been one of the most underrated players in the NFL, and I think Denzel Burke has a lot of those same tools. Denzel Burke is a blanket in coverage. He is a phenomenal coverage player that plays from multiple alignments and schemes with great quickness and run defense upside. He does have quite a few areas I want to see get cleaned up, but I believe that Denzel Burke will be a top 50 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.